So, normally, when you die in a video game, it feels bad, right? It's the fundamental video game punishment. You do something wrong, and now you're dead. Video games are very medieval in that way. But lately, I've been playing Helldivers, and as I watch my arms and legs blown off by a friendly airstrike, I often find myself unbothered, moisturized, in my lane even. And as a bile spitter sends me ragdolling into my own grenade, which does not hesitate to convert me to bloody chunks, I smile and can't help but wonder, why does Helldivers hurt me so good? And in short, expectations and mechanics. Starting with expectations, everything about Helldivers' setting is designed to let you know that you'll be dying a lot. But more than that, the setting wants to give you permission to die. Because you see, death in most video games is taboo. It means losing, and losing is cringe. But Helldivers doesn't want you to cringe. They want you to die and understand that death is a normal part of the process. Super Earth isn't going to liberate that space oil field without cracking at least a few million eggs. To illustrate this, let's compare Helldivers to one of its favorite subjects of satire, Halo. In Halo, you are John 117, a super soldier wearing the coolest armor in the galaxy, and you are one of the most specialist boys that stand between the galaxy and total annihilation. And every time you fail, that's a timeline where the galaxy dies. Compare that to Helldivers, where you are a faceless, brainwashed stormtrooper, average age 18.7, sent to die in the billions, fighting a meaningless war. And when you die, there isn't a game over screen. The mission keeps going as planned, and even when you fail the mission, it doesn't send you back in time. There's no break in continuity that happens when you fail in Helldivers. It doesn't even let you retry failed missions. Atrocious casualties and frequent failures are part of Super Earth's strategy. Many Helldivers will die having accomplished very little, and that's just business, baby. When you die in Halo, you are failing to live up to the expectation that you are humanity's ultimate warrior, and when you die in Helldivers, you're doing exactly what is expected of you. Also, another nice little touch, by default the voice setting is random, so that every time your Helldiver dies, they come back with a new voice. This is because your last character is dead. Helldivers wants you to know that when you come back, you don't actually get revived. You just get a shiny new 18-year-old. A place where the two settings actually find a tiny, itty bit of common ground is that in both have a dystopian element. In Halo, the Spartans are child soldiers bred to crush human rebels, and were only coincidentally useful when the aliens invaded. But that's all book nerd shit. In the Halo games, the Spartans are only ever portrayed as humanity's last hope against aliens who hate us because we are the favored people of the ancient space gods. In Helldivers, the very fabric of the world trembles haphazardly, ready to burst with the thickest of satire. It fires jokes faster than democratically provided machine gun. You're constantly told to report dissidents to your democracy officer. The game's opening hits you with suburbia and police state worshipping propaganda. Super Earth is clearly a genocidal empire who sliced off the face of liberal democracy, so they could wear it like a mask and call themselves the managed democracy. The in-game notes and loading screen messages are constantly reminding you that democracy officers are watching your every move, and that you can't even get a hamster without state approval. Not to mention that time they revoked our reproduction permits because we weren't conquering fast enough. This all goes to let you know that if Super Earth were to lose, super democracy forbid, of course, but, you know, maybe that wouldn't be such a bad thing. These expectations then dovetail beautifully into the gameplay, where Helldivers does not make a hassle out of dying. Most co-op horde shooters have a downing and reviving mechanic. You go down, and you're stuck on your hands and knees yelling, "I'm stuck, step teammate," until your buddy comes and holds X on you for about 5 seconds. And though it's a staple of the genre, it has some drawbacks. For one, you're usually static on the ground, and if your teammates get forced away, you have to watch helplessly until you either die, or your teammates stabilize the situation without you. It feels bad. In Helldivers, from the time you die to the time that you're back in the fight, it can be less than 10 seconds if your teammates are free to call you back in. And when you call in a reinforcing pod, it respawns everybody who's down, not just a single player. This is because Helldivers wants you to minimize the amount of time you spend dead. though you will have to spend a little more time dead when your team runs out of shared lives. But honestly, being dead with a timer telling you approximately when you'll get to come back feels a lot better than laying on the ground for an indeterminate amount of time where your friends could theoretically revive you, but they just can't. And finally, as the sweet, sweet Sherry on the Death Sunday, reviving in Helldivers is when your friend calls in an airstrike and you are the airstrike. You can use your drop pod to kill heavy enemies so that the first thing you do when you come back is helping your teammates stabilize the situation that probably killed you. It feels good. It's also worth noting, Helldivers has an extremely chaotic sandbox, and this means dying has a lot more spectacle to it. Sure, you might get killed by baddies just stabbing you, but it's more likely that you'll be killed by a friendly airstrike or blown up by a random nuke sitting 10 meters away, detonated by a stray bullet that wasn't even aiming at you. Figuring out how you died is sometimes a riddle presented by the Democracy Sphinx, and in this way, death in Helldivers becomes entertainment. Here you can see a bug running up to my buddy, my boy. I try to shoot the bug, but I miss. Then my autocannon turret tries to shoot the bug. It doesn't miss. It proceeds to blast the bug and my boy, but the blast doesn't kill him. It was the getting hurled 20 feet into a pile of bugs that got him. And then, just for good measure, he gets shot by lightning. Writing this essay and looking back at Helldivers 1 with how much of the setting and these tools for smoothing out death were already established, I wonder if they started with a top-down shooter that already had a lot of friendly fire, and then maybe they just leaned into the dystopian element to justify the teammate killing. I don't think it's a coincidence that they picked a human skull for the game's logo. Now, I'm not saying death in Helldivers is never frustrating, but that, considering the sheer volume of random bullshit and friendly fire happening, it's shockingly painless. And it is a little fun to kill your teammates. We do a little tomfoolery. I just think it's something really special that they took something that could have made the game miserable, and through presentation and smart game design, turned it into a key selling point. It really was our Helldivers. Anyway, thank you for watching. I don't actually know if asking people to like and subscribe actually gets them to do it more, so I won't.